Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I want to share with you my latest mental math curriculum that is for grades 3, 4, and 5. But first I want to just share with you that there is a mental math curriculum for grades 1 through 3, as well as one for grades 4th through 8th. I do have a separate video on that. You can check that one out in detail. That link is down in the description box below. But as I was going through this with my own children, I realized that we needed something in the middle. And so I created one that's a little bit different than the other two. And it's just for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And it's to primarily master the times tables, division facts, and very simple fractions. So let me show you mental math for grades 1 through 3 so you can get an idea of the kind of questions that you can expect. Also, this is one that we're already using, and whenever we go through our mental math, we will highlight the questions once they are complete, and that way we can just keep track of which questions we need to do. There's also a spot here to put the date, and that way you can choose however you want to organize mental math for yourself, whether you're doing Monday through Friday or a couple days a week. It's very flexible. So to begin with, the curriculum is going to have a few notes on how to do mental math. These are not math drills. This is to become proficient in simple math skills, depending on the grade level, and to work out these questions mentally. So we don't want to necessarily memorize the way that they are written here because they're all different. It's really just to practice your memory skills and your mental math skills. The only thing that you want to focus on memorizing are the multiplication table and the division facts. So in grades 1 through 3, we're going to start out with some really simple questions. In general, you're not going to have as many two-part questions as you're going to have in the 3rd through 5th grade curriculum, as well as the 4th through 8th grade curriculum. And this is because new students who are just starting out may struggle with mental math if they are not used to it. So we're going to start easy and slow. If the questions are too easy, you can double up on days, or you can jump ahead to some more difficult questions. If they are too difficult, you can simplify the questions. And for really young children, just doing things like 2 plus 5 or 3 minus 1 or 12 minus 6, those are completely sufficient just to get those skills kind of going. Okay, so for grades 1 through 3, there's going to be a mix of simple math problems, which include addition, subtraction, and even a little bit later on, there's going to be some multiplication and division. And the reason why multiplication and division are included in grades 1 through 3 is because this whole curriculum kind of goes according to the Waldorf approach to doing math, and that's going to include the 4 math operations in grade 1. So right from the start, children are learning all 4 math operations, and so that's why you're going to see some of those kinds of questions later on in the curriculum. You're also going to see money problems, and this is for U.S. currency. I know that people in other parts of the world have amended the money problems so that it is currency in their country. And if you choose to do it with American currency, then you can also just bear in mind that part of the reason why including money problems is great for mental math is because you're looking at units of 1, 5s, 10s, and 25, and 50 and 1 if you're doing half dollars and a full dollar. And so in doing that, you're practicing multiplication skills through money. And of course, learning about money means that you're also learning about decimals and place value in a very organic, natural way. So included, we're going to also have some skip counting, some really basic multiplication. There's also going to be telling time problems and measurement problems. So very simple measurement questions, and it starts out with, how many inches in a foot. This is with the imperial system, the US system, not the metric system. So I don't believe I included anything with the metric system when it comes to measurement. But of course, that's some place where you could alter the questions to suit your needs depending on where you are located in the world. And then the other thing is with time, like so days of the week and how many seconds in a minute, those kinds of questions. So those are the kinds of questions you're going to find in grades 1 through 3. And very quickly, I feel like it does get pretty challenging. So if you're finding that, maybe only 20 weeks work for you for where your child is at, then it's completely suitable to go back to the beginning of the curriculum after you've gotten through halfway through your school year, and then just start going over the questions again, because you're not supposed to necessarily memorize these questions. You're going to be using your mental math skills over and over again, even if you're repeating the questions. And in grades 1 through 3 and in grades 4 through 8, there are a lot of repeat questions, and that's done on purpose, because even though you have seen it before, if it's been a while and you're seeing it again, it's as if you're seeing it for the first time, or it feels new again. So that's what you can expect in grades 1 through 3. In grades 4 through 8, it gets pretty complicated fairly quickly. There are a lot of easy questions that are interspersed along with the more challenging ones. That's done on purpose. So you might have a 7th grader doing some pretty complicated math, and all of a sudden there's like an easy addition, subtraction, or multiplication and division question. And that's because there are a lot more questions per day in the older grades. There are 6 questions every day. And honestly, when I was doing this with my children, when they were about 6th grade and on, we were doing upwards of 10, maybe 12 questions a day. For grades 1 through 3, I've narrowed it down just to 4 questions. So it's very small, like very few questions, less than 5 minutes a day. Even if you're doubling up on multiple days, it's just a very quick thing to add to your opening activities. And so with grades 4 through 8, you're looking at 6 questions every day. If you want to double up, the way that we double up generally is that we will go and do we'll double up this way. So instead of doubling up this way, we'll just do 2 weeks within 1 week by doubling up the dates this way. And then we'll just highlight them if they have been done correctly. And if they're not, then the following day I will revisit that question and then I'll highlight it. So we're not keeping score. I'm not giving grades. We're just working through them. And even if it takes like several seconds to answer the question, I'm not making these timed. I'm not expecting them to answer the question in a certain amount of time. Often with some of the more complicated ones, they might forget part of the question and I might need to repeat it, because throughout, as you progress through these weeks, they are going to get more challenging. And with grades 4 through 8, you have 3 years worth of questions to choose from. And so they are going to get challenging as you move on. It's not going to be a 4 or 5 year curriculum. It's just that you can, the grade range, I always add a grade range because children are at different levels, and you may want something that's more simple for an older student or more challenging for a young student. So I prefer a grade range so that you can choose what's going to be appropriate for your child. And remember that for our mental math, we want it to be something that the children have already seen, have already practiced, so that it's familiar for them. We don't necessarily want to use mental math as new learning. That's not really what it's intended for. On occasion, you might do that depending on what the lessons are. And then you might just use it as a teaching tool. But in general, we want it to be something that children have already seen, are already familiar with, and they're practicing those skills. Okay, so for grades 4th through 8th grade, you're having a lot more questions because the children are older, but still this will only take you about 10 minutes or less, and really it probably takes you even less than 5 minutes, even when you're getting to the more complicated questions, and even if you're doubling up and doing twice as many questions in a day. Okay, so for this grade level, you're also going to be having some measurement math. You're going to have time problems. You're going to have money problems, and you're going to have a lot more variety. This is going to have estimation, percents, decimals, fractions, of course, the 4 operations, negative numbers, and square roots. And so this is going to cover the majority of what you want your children to master by the time they are done with elementary or junior high. So by the time they're ready for high school, you want them to have mastered all of these math concepts and then whatever else you might have in mind for them. But this is a pretty broad overview of the things that we want to have mastered by that age. Okay, so how does that look different from grades 3 through 5? To begin with, you're going to have the same introduction or a similar introduction, it's slightly different on how to do mental math and what you can expect from the curriculum. This curriculum is going to have far fewer repeat questions because the focus is going to be the multiplication table and division facts. So there will be on a daily basis a review of those facts, but the majority of the questions are going to be unique, except for the ones where we are just doing simple multiplication because there's only so many questions you can do. So those are going to definitely repeat. Something different for this curriculum is that it's going to have a times table chart, one that's in color and one that's just black and white, so that if you are just printing this off without using color, then you can have the option of just having this one rather than the one that's color. The one that's color, I just find it really beautiful, and also it helps track the numbers. And we also have this particular times table on our chalk drawing during this unit to help out with the students who are just beginning their times tables, and even for ones who are learning to master it, it's also really nice to have. And I also use this to help the students if they haven't mastered it yet, then I'm fine with them looking at the times table to arrive at the answer. I'm not using mental math as a time to test my students. I'm using it as a time to become proficient. So if they still need to use the times table to answer questions, I'm completely okay with that. I'm going to show you how to use this in a minute. Okay, so the questions for this year are a little bit different. They're only going to focus on the multiplication and division facts with simple addition and subtraction and some fractions starting in about year 2. So for this curriculum, you're going to have 2 years worth of questions that you can use for a span of 3rd to 5th grade. So if you've covered this all, you started in 3rd grade, you're done at the end of 4th grade, and you're wanting to do something else for 5th grade, if you don't want to move on to the higher curriculum, then you can repeat these questions, and I would just double up on the days and use that for your 3rd year. These questions are meant to be used again. That's the way the curriculum is designed. It's not unique questions for every year. So the difference for this curriculum is that you're not going to have time problems, measurement, math, money, time, and measurement. Those ones are completely not going to be in this curriculum. This is just a focus on the times table. And so you have 5 questions every day. The younger years, you have 4 questions, and the older years, you have 6 questions. But every single day, you're going to be either reciting your times tables, a single number, your division facts, or you're going to do your skip counting. So the skip counting is just doing 3, 6, 9, or for whatever number you're doing. And you can do it with your counting sticks or rhythmic clapping. And that's just going to get you used to those numbers before you get into the multiplication table. So we're starting out with like the 2s and the 3s and the 5s, because those are the easy ones to learn. And at the same time, you're going to start with your skip counting with some of the higher numbers that you might not have mastered yet with your multiplication table. You're going to start out with some easy questions that are mostly 2-part questions, starting with the first set of questions. So we're going to go through the 2 times tables, simple questions with the 2 times table, then the 3, the 4, simple division facts using the 2s, 3s, and 4 times tables, and then we're going to increase all the way until you get through the 12 times table. After we have gone through lots of different variations on doing your multiplication, division with addition and subtraction for the 12 times table, then we're going to start with some fractions, and they're going to start off really simple, and then they're going to get a little bit more complicated, but you're going to have a lot of questions that are going to have fractions, but they are related to the 12 times tables. So what I mean by that is here you can see 1/5 times 25 plus 8. So 1/5 times 25 is really similar to saying 25 divided by 5. And so it's just another way to look at your multiplication table and your division facts by doing it this way. So if the children haven't been exposed to fractions, this might be a good opportunity to explain some simple ideas about fractions or give them some tips about how it's similar to division. But if you feel like you don't want to embark on those lessons quite yet, then just skip the ones that have the more challenging fractions and save them for another year after you have introduced fractions and the children are beginning to learn them and master them. Something else you're going to find in this year as well as the other years is going to be a question with the answer. Okay, so let me explain that. Always the question, or rather always the answers are in parentheses. So if I'm saying 144 divided by 12 plus 8, the answer is here in parentheses. So this is for the teacher to have and to orally recite the question, and then the student will orally recite the answer, and then you can check it right here. So this is not something you hand off to the child who then looks at it and then checks their answer later. That's not how mental math works, and that's why you're always going to see the answers here. However, when you see that the answer is around what appears to be the question, this is an opportunity for you to say what makes 8. And when we're asking what makes 8, we're really asking what of the multiplication table makes 8. So what two numbers multiplied together make 8? Because obviously what makes 8 means that there could be an infinite number of answers for what makes 8. But here we're looking for the two numbers that when they're multiplied together make 8. So this is one answer, 2 times 4. Another answer is 4 times 2. Another answer is 8 times 1. And another answer is 1 times 8. So I've put one answer, but you can accept any of those 4 answers. And there may be more depending on the question, like 36, for instance, may even have more answers that you could choose from. And so whatever answer they give you is fine. If they want to get creative and tell you, 24 divided by 3 makes 8, then you can accept that as well. If they want to say 6 plus 2 makes 8, you can choose to accept that if you would like, or if you really want them to focus on the multiplication table, you can say what makes 8, 2 times what makes 8. And then you can kind of lead the answer if you choose to. When I do these ones, I just say what makes 8 or what makes 16, and then I'll accept whatever answer I get from my student, even if they start to get really creative, which you can as well. Of course, you're going to continue with either reciting the times tables, skip counting, or division facts. That's included in every day to really sharpen those skills. There are going to be division questions, multiplication questions, and some fractions. They're all going to follow the order of operations. We're not going to have two-part questions in which you're going to need to figure out one part before moving on to the next part using the PEMDAS order of operations. They're all written in a way that already follows that rule. So they're read from left to right, with always the multiplication or division part of the question coming first, followed by an addition or subtraction part. In most cases, this is how the questions are set up, unless it's just a single part question, which on occasion, for instance, right here, when we're first getting into the fractions with an eighth, I just have 1/8 times 96, before later on, I might have 1/8 times 96 minus 2, for instance, as a question. Okay, so that's a basic overview of grades 3 through 5 for mental math. It also comes with the times table chart, which I did explain. I did say I was going to explain how to use it. So actually, let me do that now because I forgot. So when my children are first starting out with their multiplication table, and they might struggle with answering the question, and I might say something like 7 times 4 plus 39. And I will just have them look at the table and follow 4 times 7 until they arrive at the answer. Completely fine. Let's say they are doing division. Let's say they're doing 45 divided by 9. Another way to say that is how many 9s fit into 45. So you can say 45 divided by 9, but then they're looking for 45. Let's say they might be looking for 45, and that might be a little bit challenging for them. So whenever I say 45 divided by 9, or I'll give you another example, 45 divided by 9 is the same as saying how many 9s fit into 45. Then they can just travel up here and say 5, and that's just a nice scaffolding for them so that they can answer the question if they haven't quite mastered their division facts. So let's choose another one. 144 divided by 12. I could say how many 12s fit into 144. So because you want to be able to have them start on the side or at the top so that it's easy for them to locate the complete question and finally the answer. So how many 12s fit into 144 means they're finding 12. They're going along here until they hit 144. Then they can travel up here and then give you the answer. Let's try another one. 14 divided by 2 plus a half. So how many 2s fit into 14? So we're going to go here. How many 2s fit into 14? 7, then plus a half, 7.5. Okay, so I hope that this was helpful in giving you an overview of this curriculum. You can find it on my website at pepperandpine.com. That link is down in the description box below. If you would like to check out the other video I have on mental math, you can tap on the screen right now. I have a number of videos on math in general and Waldorf math in particular. You can tap on the screen right now and check those out. And if you want to see how we're doing our math on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at pepperandpine.